Someone hurt you, and now you feel guilty for being angry about it. Not just hurt, guilty, like the anger itself is the second sin. Modern psychology has done something genuinely useful here. It has told people that anger is a signal, not a character flaw. That feeling, it does not make you broken. That suppressing it causes its own damage. That is true, and it matters, but there is something psychology cannot quite reach. Because the guilt you feel is not just psychological, it is moral. It is the sense that you have failed someone, that your anger cancels your goodness or your faith, that a better person would already be past this. Therapy can tell you the anger is understandable. It cannot tell you whether it is right. And that is precisely the question the oldest Christian writers spent centuries answering. Not whether you should perform calm, whether the anger itself is a sin. There is a line in Paul's letter to the Ephesians that most people have heard and almost nobody has sat with long enough. Ephesians 4, verse 26. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. Read that again. Be angry. That is not a warning against anger. That is a permission and a distinction. The sin is not the anger. The sin is something that can follow from it if you let it. And then the Psalms. Psalm 4, verse 4. Be angry and do not sin. Ponder in your own hearts on your beds and be silent. Two writers, centuries apart, the same distinction. The oldest voices in this tradition were not trying to eliminate anger. They were trying to teach you what to do with it. John Chrysostom was a preacher in Antioch and later Constantinople in the 4th century. He preached through nearly every book of the New Testament, line by line, to ordinary people, merchants, mothers, tradesmen, people who had been wronged by neighbors and family and the powerful. His homilies on Ephesians are among the most precise psychological documents the ancient world produced. When he came to Ephesians 4, verse 26, he did not smooth it over. He stopped. He said the verse was almost shocking in what it permitted. In his homilies on Ephesians, homily 14, Chrysostom wrote, He said not, do not be angry at all, but sin not. That is, do not carry it further than you ought. Let that land. He is making a surgical cut between the feeling and what you do with it. The feeling is not the problem. What you carry it into is the problem. He goes further. He identifies the usefulness of anger. Not anger at your own wound for its own sake, but anger as a faculty that can serve justice and love. He writes, in the same homilies, anger was implanted in us to arouse us against sin and the devil, not against our neighbor. This is not a small point. Chrysostom is saying the capacity for anger is not a corruption of your nature. It is part of your nature. It was put there for a purpose. The question is never whether you have it. The question is what it is aimed at and for how long. He named the double bind with clarity. He saw people doing what you have probably done. They felt angry. Then they felt ashamed of the anger. Then they buried both. And the buried anger found its way out sideways, in coldness, in bitterness, in the slow withdrawal of love. He called this worse than the original anger, because it had curdled into something without a face. The instruction in the verse, he said, is not about the sunrise. It is about the hardening. Do not let the anger become a settled posture. There is a difference between a fire that burns and a coal that smolders for years. Chrysostom's distinction is this: anger that acknowledges a real wound, that names a real wrong, that moves you toward honest confrontation or grief, that is not sin. Anger that becomes a residence, that you move into and furnish and defend, that begins to define how you see the person entirely. That is where sin begins. So here is where this lands for you. You are hurt, you are angry, and every time you feel that anger, something in you says you should be over it by now, that your faith should have fixed this, that a more spiritually mature person would have moved on without the heat still sitting in their chest. Chrysostom would say, that voice is not wisdom. That voice is the double bind. It takes the wound, adds guilt on top of it, and then calls the guilt holiness. The anger is not the problem. The anger is honest. It is telling you something real happened. Something that mattered was violated. The tradition does not ask you to deny that, though someone listening might hear permission and think the anger can stay as long as it likes. That would be a misreading. The oldest voices in this tradition are not giving you license to live in the anger indefinitely. Some of it does need to be surrendered. Forgiveness is still real and still required, but the sequencing matters. You cannot genuinely forgive something you have not honestly felt. You cannot lay down a weapon you have been told you were wrong to pick up. The guilt that arrives before the feeling has been honored is not holiness. It is just another wound. The distinction Chrysostom drew is not a license. It is a ladder. You have to stand on the first rung before you can climb. Take the distinction with you. Feel what you feel and watch where it is going. 2,000 years of honest reflection on this is available to you. The anger was never the enemy.